Hello everyone. So this is in continuation of our previous discussion about statistical physics. We have seen a lot of topics related to statistical physics. We started with the basic knowledge of statistical physics, and then we have moved to Maxwell-Boltzmann canonical distribution law. Then we have seen the Maxwell-Boltzmann method also. We have learned about the application part of Maxwell-Boltzmann method. Now we will continue this series to further knowledge. So today's lecture in that series will focus on the limitations of Maxwell-Boltzmann's method, and due to that the reason of evolution of quantum statistics. Okay. So the objective of today's lecture is to understand the limitations of Maxwell-Boltzmann method and need of quantum statistics. The outcome after attending this lecture, you will be able to learn about the Gibbs paradox. This is topic related to the application of Maxwell-Boltzmann method. Okay, but we will see what it says. There is a contradiction between the concept and the related outcome. So that's why it is known as Gibbs paradox. Then secondly, you will get familiarized with the limitations of Maxwell-Boltzmann method. And finally, you will understand the evolution of quantum statistics. Okay, so let us start with the content. For achieving these objectives and everything, we have divided the lecture into several parts. The first one is entropy of an ideal gas. That is related to Gibbs paradox. Actually, if you calculate entropy of ideal gas using the Boltzmann canonical or Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law, you will find some contradictory result for some cases, and that's why it is known as Gibbs paradox. Secondly, we will learn about the limitations of Maxwell-Boltzmann method. That will include the Gibbs paradox also. So we will point out all the limitations. And finally, to overcome these limitations, we will see what was the need and development of quantum statistics. Among them, there are, as we know, quantum statistics is divided into two parts. One is Bose-Einstein statistics, and second is Fermi-Dirac statistics. So we will learn what kind of statistics these are. Here is the list of reference books which you can consider for your further study. Okay, these are simply written, and all the content of today's lecture are covered in these books. So let us start with the first topic, that is entropy of an ideal gas, and that is also known as Gibbs paradox. So we already have studied the Boltzmann relation that was given for entropy and maximum thermodynamic probability. Okay, S and W, and the relation was known as S equals to K log W, and we call it Boltzmann entropy probability relation, or sometimes we call it Boltzmann entropy relation. Okay. Now, in our previous lectures, we have also counted the Maxwell-Boltzmann count, and that is given by log W equals to log n factorial plus summation I equals to 1 to k of ni log gi minus log ni factorial. Okay, so since you know this ni and gi is very large number, n is also very large number, we are talking about the gas molecules, and there are the number of molecules is quite large, and in this case we can use Stirling theorem to expand this expression, this log ni factorial or log n factorial also. But right now we will use this Stirling theorem for this expression. So let us do it. Log n factorial plus inside summation I equals to 1 to k of ni log gi is added as it is, and we will expand this term into this term. That will be minus ni log ni. Actually it is minus ni, but since it is minus already, the second term will be plus ni. Okay. Now, if we rearrange this, you can see here we have Ni, here we have Ni, and here also. So we will take the common of Ni outside, and then log n factorial plus inside summation Ni into inside bracket, it will be log Gi minus log Ni plus 1. Now you see here, this is log, this is log. We can combine these two terms, and it will become log Gi upon Ni. So then we can write log n factorial plus summation over I equals to 1 to k of Ni into log Gi upon Ni plus 1, and that is our equation 2. Now we will apply the condition of maximum thermodynamic probability. So for the maximum value of W or log W, since we always use log W for the simplicity, for the mathematical convenience. Okay, normally we can use W also, but whenever we apply the maximum condition or this kind of calculation, then we always use logarithmic of that quantity. So by applying that condition, we already calculated this. Ni equals to Gi into e to the power minus alpha and e to the power minus Ei upon kt. Right now, if we rearrange this, we can take these factor on the opposite side, and Ni will bring on this side. So the new expression will become Gi upon Ni equals to e to the power alpha plus Ei upon kt. We have combined this because these were minus this side, but when we take this on the other side, it becomes plus both of them. Okay. So if we take logarithmic of that, why we are doing? Because here we have this term log Gi upon Ni. So you can see Gi upon Ni, we are now taking logarithmic of this term. It will become log Gi upon Ni equals to, since it was exponential of this, when we take logarithmic, it will remain this quantity. And that's what we have written here. Log Gi upon Ni equals to alpha plus Ei upon kt. This is our equation 4. Now, as we told earlier, this term is included in equation 2. So put the value of this term in equation 2 equal to this one. We get the maximum value log W as log W equals to log n factorial as it is, plus inside summation over I equals to 1 to k of Ni into, now we are putting the value Ei upon kt, this term, plus alpha and plus 1 as it is. Okay, now we are rearranging it. So opening these brackets and separating all the terms separately. So log W equals to log n factorial plus, since 1 upon kt is constant, we can take common and take it outside of summation. It will become 1 upon kt summation over I equals to 1 to k of Ni into Ei, this term, plus alpha is constant here, so we can take alpha outside of summation, alpha of summation over I equals to 1 to k of Ni here, and again this one will be Ni. So this is summation of Ni over a range of I equals to 1 to k. Right now we already know that this term represents total energy of the system, right? So that's what we have written here. Summation I equals to 1 to k equals to of Ni equals to total energy of system, and that is represented by E and equals to 3 by 2 n kt. Okay. Now the secondly we can think about this term. It is summation of Ni, that means total number of molecules. So it can be written as capital N. That's what we have written here. Now we will put these values in this equation. It will become log W equals to log n factorial plus 1 upon kt, and this value is 3 by 2 n kt, plus this value is alpha n. So here alpha n, and this value is capital N, because this is capital R. Okay, so this is the form of above equation. Now if we rearrange this, what we get is, you can see here, like this one will be n, and now you can see kt will cancel out kt, and it will remain only 3 by 2 n. So n plus n, it will add up and it will become 5 by 2n. So log w equals to log n factorial plus 5 by 2n plus alpha n. Alpha n was kept as it is, there is no change. Now we already know the value of alpha. We have already calculated of this multiplier in our previous lecture. You can see that lecture on our YouTube channel of School of Applied Science, Gyan Bihar University. So putting this value of alpha equals to minus log of n upon b into h square upon 2 pi mkt to the power 3 by 2, right? Now if we substitute this value in this equation, it will become log w equals to log n factorial plus 5 by 2n minus n log n upon b into h square upon 2 pi mkt to the power 3 by 2, and this become our equation number 6. Now if we substitute this value in equation number 1, the equation number 1 is what? That is the relation between entropy and maximum thermodynamic probability. So we are putting that as equals to k log w. So we are putting here as equals to k log n factorial plus 5 by 2 nk minus n into k or into log n upon b h square upon 2 pi mkt to the power 3 by 2. Okay. Now again rearranging, what we are doing, we are now changing the order of this. We are taking numerator to denominator and denominator to numerator. So when we change the order, what will happen? It will make, because it is inside log, it will change the sign of outside that one. So it will become as equals to k log n factorial plus 5 by 2 nk minus will convert to plus nk log n upon b, and you see this term is changed 2 pi mkt upon h square to the power 3 by 2. This is our equation number 7. Right, now let us assume two different ideal gases, like they are completely distinguishable. Okay, and we are assuming that the total number of particle n1 is present in compartment A that has volume of V1, and the second compartment B that has volume of V2 containing N2 particle, right? Let us assume also that both the gases are at same pressure and same temperature, and these boxes, or we can say these boxes, are only separated by a partition. So somehow it is a completely one box, and we have created one partition and we designated one box as a compartment A, another one is compartment B. Now if we remove this partition in from the middle, then what will happen? The gases will allow to mix together in total volume B, that is equals to V1 plus V2, the volume of two compartments, right? And that since the temperature, pressure, they are at they have the same values for both gases, that means they will be allowed to mix in the volume at same temperature. There will be no change in the temperature. That means the process will be irreversible. We cannot separate out these two gases separately, right? We cannot differentiate now. We cannot distinguish the molecules of these two gases, because we have considered these are two different ideal gases, but it is difficult or maybe impossible to separate these molecules. Right now, if it is the reversible process, we have already understood from the concept of entropy that in this case, in the case of irreversible process, the entropy of mixture should be higher than the individual entropy, or the sum of the individual entropy of two gas molecules before mixing. Okay, so the mixture should have more entropy than the sum of individual entropies. Now if we are considering that gases are same kind, that means here we have considered distinguishable. Now we are considering that both the gases are indistinguishable. It is not possible to differentiate them. Then the change in entropy should be 0, because they are same kind. Then there should be no change in entropy. Now if we consider equation number 7 for this fact, then the result is good. Result are satisfactory, that is 0. But now if we are mixing two identical gases where it is not possible to distinguish the molecules of two gases, then the equation resulted into increase in entropy, which is actually not possible according to concept of entropy. That means it is a contradiction of theory of entropy, and that's why this contradiction is known as Gibbs paradox. Okay. Now, after this topic, we will understand what are the limitations of Maxwell-Boltzmann method. We have studied a lot of applications, we have studied all the details about this law. Now, here are some points which are not satisfactory, which are not really good to apply Maxwell-Boltzmann method. So, we will see what are the limitations. It is not a drawback, but since everything in nature has some limitation, so the same way Maxwell Boltzmann method also has limitation. It is good for the classical explanation, or it is good for some particular molecules of gases, some particular particles, but they have limitation. So the first one is it is applicable only to an isolated gas of identical molecules that are in equilibrium, for which the following conditions should be satisfied. First condition is the mean potential energy due to mutual interaction between the molecules should be very small in comparison to their kinetic energy, right? And that means this is the condition for ideal gas. The gas should be ideal gas. If we are considering real gas, then there is a limitation of Maxwell-Boltzmann method. It cannot be applied to that kind of gases, right? Secondly, the gas should be dilute. That means the total number of molecules per unit volume should be small, so that the average separation between two molecules should be large enough, and that's why each molecule can be distinguished, that can be easily differentiated. And in this condition, what the gas is known as? Gas is known as non-degenerate gas, or it is known as a state of non-degeneracy. Okay, so that means the important results, such as the expression which we have derived for energy or specific heat at constant volume and pressure obtained by this method, are very similar to those which are derived by simple kinetic theory. We have applied the method using simple kinetic theory in the beginning of our lectures on thermodynamics, that are quite similar to this Maxwell-Boltzmann method. Okay. Now the second point is the expression for Maxwell-Boltzmann count does not give correct expression for the entropy of an ideal gas. We have just now calculated the entropy of an ideal gas in this expression, right? Equation number 7. And then we have seen this equation is not good for the cases where the mixing of two different gases, when the mixing of two identical gases are taking place. So that means it is not good to apply, and that leads to Gibbs paradox phenomena. To resolve this paradox, actually it is possible to resolve, but that is another direction, and the expression should be divided by factorial n. Okay, but this is different from what Maxwell-Boltzmann has proposed. This was just a resolution of that paradox, but actually in the original condition, Maxwell-Boltzmann method does not satisfy this condition. The third point related to limitations is in the expression. If you look at expression for entropy of an ideal gas, we get final formula as S equals to Nk into log of 2 pi mkt upon h square to the power 3 by 2 into e to the power 5 by 2. Now, for example, if we take T equals to 0, that means 0 Kelvin, we are talking about absolute zero temperature. In that case, what will happen? S equals to N into K into log of, because 0 is here, it will be log 0. And what you know from the formula, from the property of logarithmic, log 0 can be considered as negative quantity, right? We know already, actually there is no definite value around of log 0, but it is considered as a negative quantity. Why it is so? Because if you remember, log 1, the value of log 1 is 0, and if we go below 1 for any quantity, it should be less than 0. That means the value of less than log 1 should be negative quantity, and that's why we are considering entropy is negative, right? That means it is a violation of third law of thermodynamics, right? According to third law of thermodynamics, what is this law? This law says when the temperature of any system approaches to absolute zero, the entropy becomes constant after a certain point, and it approaches to constant value of S0, which is completely independent of system properties. All the systems, they must show this constant value after a certain point when the system temperature approaches to absolute zero. So this is not happening using Maxwell-Boltzmann method, and that is known as one of the limitations. The next point is it cannot be applied to a system of indistinguishable particles. Yes, when we started to study Maxwell-Boltzmann method, we have seen that this is valid for identical but distinguishable particles, and that's why we choose gas molecules which can be distinguishable. So it cannot be applied to system of indistinguishable particles. If we apply Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law, this is an example we can understand. If we apply this law to the thermionic emission, we get the expression for the emission current density as this one: J equals to A naught T to the power half e to the power minus phi upon kT. But this expression is not right. This is wrong relation. The correct expression, which was verified experimentally, was J equals to A naught T square e to the power minus phi upon kT. So the difference was in temperature term. Here, using Maxwell-Boltzmann method, we got under root T, but the actual expression contains T square instead of under root T. Okay, so these are the limitations of Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law or Maxwell-Boltzmann theory. Now we will understand what is the need and development, and because of that demand, because of that need, why the quantum statistics came into picture. So as we have already studied that in classical statistics, Maxwell-Boltzmann explained the energy and velocity distribution. We have seen this both energy and velocity distribution of molecule of an ideal gas to a fairly large degree of accuracy. This was very well done. We have got very good results. If we consider ideal gas, the results are very good using energy and velocity distribution law, right? It has been already assumed that all the energy levels are accessible to all the particles of system. When we were deriving Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law, we have considered that each energy level has some quantum state, and all of them are freely accessible to all the molecules, to all the particles of this system, and that's what we have defined as GI. So it was totally accessible for all the particles of this system. But in practice, it is found that there are some energy levels in that energy diagram, that these energy levels are not accessible for some certain particles. These are prohibited to certain group of particles, and that's why Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics failed to account adequately for several other experimentally observed phenomena, such as black body radiation could not be explained by classical statistics, or photoelectric effect was also failed to explain by the classical theory. So due to all this reason, a new quantum concept came into picture, and that concept said that there is a discrete exchange of energy between the systems that is not continuous, and along with this concept, this form a new branch of statistics, and that is known as quantum statistics. It was developed with the beginning of Planck's hypothesis. Okay, so in 1924, actually, that was, as I told you, Planck has formulated the quantum concept first. Okay, and after the discovery of Planck's radiation law or Planck's quantum concept in 1924, this kind of statistics was formulated by Indian scientist Satyendranath Bose, and that is commonly known as Bose only. And after 2 years of this discovery, for after this formulation by Bose in 1924, in 1926, Einstein has done the same things using the kinetic theory of gases as a substitute for classical Boltzmann statistics. And that's why this branch of quantum statistics was named as Bose-Einstein statistics. That was defined as Bose-Einstein statistics. And after this attempt in 1924, there were two more scientists that were known as Fermi and Dirac. They have modified this Bose-Einstein quantum statistics for some more particles. They have find that there are some more particles which actually does not follow classical statistics as well as Bose-Einstein statistics, right? And they said that in this case they do not follow Pauli exclusion principle, but according to Fermi and Dirac, there are particles, there are some particles which does follow Pauli exclusion principle, and that branch of statistics was known as Fermi-Dirac statistics. So that means the quantum statistics actually divided into subclasses, in two subclasses, that is Bose-Einstein statistics and Fermi-Dirac statistics. And that depends on symmetric or anti-symmetric wave functions associated with the particles. Now we will understand what are symmetric or anti-symmetric wave functions, right? So for the development of quantum statistical theory for any system that contains large number of identical and secondly indistinguishable particles. For distinguishable particles, classical theory was sufficiently good, right? It was good to explain all the phenomena. But when it comes to identical and indistinguishable particle, it totally failed. It was necessary, it was fine that for the explanation of the state of identical and indistinguishable particle, it is important to consider a wave function for many body states. And that was represented by psi, which is a function of R1 vector, R2 vector, R3 vector, and so on, where these R1, R2, R3 vectors are position vectors of the first, second, third, and so on particles respectively. These are representing the position vector of first, second, third, and so on, right? Now we will see what is symmetric wave function. So if we consider some wave function, if we interchange any pair of identical particles and there we do not find any change in the sign of wave function, then this wave function is known as symmetric wave function. Mathematically, we can represent it as follows. After exchanging any pair of identical particles, psi R1, R2, R3 vector should be remained as plus the same sign of the original wave function should remain, and that time this wave function is known as symmetric wave function. Second is anti-symmetric wave function. It is just opposite to the symmetric one. When we interchange any pair of identical particles and there is a change of sign from plus to minus, then this wave function will be known as anti-symmetric. So psi R1, R2, R3, the function of these position vectors is equals to minus psi. After interchanging some pair, it will become minus, and then it will known as anti-symmetric wave function. Okay, now if we are considering some particles which are having spin angular momenta, and that is equals to either 0 or integral multiple of the units, that is known as h cut, and it is equals to h upon 2 pi, where h is Planck's constant. So in that case, the wave functions are symmetric, And if we consider the particles which are having odd integral or half integral multiple of h cut, these wave functions are known as antisymmetric. So based on these two, the following two quantum statistics have been developed. The first one was known as Bose-Einstein, and the second one for antisymmetric is known as Fermi-Dirac statistics. So we will learn first about, we will briefly learn about Bose-Einstein statistics. As we said, this statistics was first developed by S. N. Bose for light quanta, and that quantas were known as photons. That was totally Planck theory. And then this statistics was generalized by Einstein to describe the energy distribution among particles. All the particles which have spin angular momenta equals to n h cut, where n equals to 0, 1, 2, 3, so on. And these all particles were termed as bosons after this theory. Right here, it is important to note that for bosons, for these particles, the Pauli exclusion principle is not valid. According to Pauli exclusion principle, in each quantum state, there cannot be simultaneously more than one number of particles. Okay, that means Pauli exclusion principle says that in each quantum state should have only one particle. Okay, according to this, this principle is not applicable to bosons, and that means there is no upper limit of any particle in a given quantum state. Right, the examples of these particles are alpha particles, which is having a spin quantum number as 0, which have a spin quantum number as 1, or deuterons, which also have a spin quantum number as 1, or pi mesons, which have quantum number as 0. Okay, this is about Bose-Einstein statistics. Now we will come to Fermi-Dirac statistics. And as we have already told, that this statistics was developed by E. Fermi for particularly electrons, and its relation with quantum mechanics was established by Dirac. So that's why combinedly this statistics was known as Fermi-Dirac statistics. In contrast to Bose-Einstein statistics, it describes the energy distribution of particles whose spin angular momenta are n plus half h cut, where we can put n equals to 0, 1, 2, 3, or we can say these are h cut by 2, 3 h cut by 2, or 5 h cut by 2, and so on. These particles are known as fermions on the name of Fermi. So these particles are termed as fermions, and the wave function associated with these particles are antisymmetric, okay, on interchanging two fermions. That's what we have said, that if we interchange two particles or the position vectors, then the sign should be changed, and that's what happening with fermions. Here, the Pauli exclusion principle is also applicable. That means there can be only one fermion in a given quantum state, in contrast to Bose-Einstein state, which says there can be any number of particles in a given quantum state. Okay, here are some examples of fermions that are like, for example, electron is one example for which the S value is given by 1 by 2, positron for which S equals to 1 by 2, protons also have this 1 by 2, and neutrons, mu mesons, all of them, they have this spin quantum number as half. Okay, so this is all about the need and development of quantum statistics. Now we will see, we will solve some question of today's quiz to learn what we have understood from today's lecture. Okay, so the first question for today's quiz is, the entropy in terms of probability is given by S equals to K log W, S equals to K e to the power W, S equals to log W, or S equals to e to the power W. So yes, this is famous formula given by Boltzmann, entropy probability relation, and that is given by S equals to K log W. So right answer is option A. The second question is, as the temperature approaches to 0, the entropy of system approach is 0, approach 1, approach constant value, or increased. So we have already discussed when we were discussing Gibbs paradox, we have told the third law of thermodynamics that says when the temperature approaches to absolute zero, the entropy of system remains constant, approach the constant value that is known as S0. So the right answer is option C for this question. Now the third question asking, in the equilibrium state, the probability is maximum, beta parameters of two systems are equal, both A and B or number of particles is maximum. This question we have already studied when we studied the equilibrium state, that is known as maximum probability state. So for that, probability is of course maximum, and for that state we have calculated one expression that was defined beta parameter, that is equals to 1 upon kt. So that means that function was also equal for both the systems. These are in equilibrium. So that means both A and B options are rightly said. That's why the right answer for this question is option C, that is saying both A and B are true. The next question is, out of n particles in a gas, the number of particles having exact the most probable velocity is 0, n, n by 2 or 1. So n particle of gas, number of particles having exactly the most probable velocity will be equals to 0. There will be no particles which have exactly the most probable velocity. So that is the answer for this question. The next one is, the emission current density is given by J equal to A0 t to the power half e to the power minus alpha upon kt, or option B is J equals to A0 t square e to the power minus phi upon kt, or option C is J equals to A0 t to the power half e to the power phi upon kt, or J equals to A0 t square e to the power phi upon kt. So this question was discussed when we were studying the limitation of Maxwell-Boltzmann law, and there we have told that emission current is given by the calculated value was containing t to the power half, but actual result is showing t to the power 2. That's why the right answer is option B, that is saying J equals to A0 t square e to the power minus phi upon kt. Now the value of h cut is given by h upon 2 pi, h upon 4 pi, h upon pi, or h upon 3 pi. That you should remember, because it will be used several times whenever you will study the quantum mechanics, quantum statistical physics, or thermodynamics. Also in some cases when you study about radiation, you may use this value. So you should remember this, and that is equals to h upon 2 pi. The right answer is option A. The next question is, the thermodynamic probability of a system in equilibrium is 1, minimum but not 1, maximum, or 0. So that is quite famous principle. The equilibrium state is a state with maximum thermodynamic probability. So the right option is option C, maximum. The next question is asking, deduction of Planck's law is possible on the basis of Fermi-Dirac statistics, classical statistics, MB statistics, or Bose-Einstein statistics. So the right answer is Planck's law is of course the quantum way. So that was done by Bose-Einstein statistics. The right answer is option D. Then the next question is asking, boson particles obey Pauli exclusion principle. This statement is true, false, or you cannot say anything. Sometime true or sometime false depending on condition. So we have already defined this boson particles. They follow Bose-Einstein statistics, and according to that statistics, Pauli exclusion principle is not followed. So that means the right answer is false, option B, that does not follow Pauli exclusion principle. Boson particles, fermions obey Pauli exclusion principle. The last question of today's quiz is, photons obey the Boson BE statistics, Bose-Einstein statistics, MB statistics, Maxwell-Boltzmann, Fermi-Dirac statistics, or none of the above. So photons, we have already told the example when we were studying both of the statistics, and photon comes in the Bose-Einstein statistics. So this option A is the right answer for this question. I hope all the topics covered today is clear to you. If still you have any questions, any query, please feel free to ask by commenting in the YouTube channel on our video, or you can send an email to me also. I would be happy to answer all your queries. Okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your attention. Thank you so much.